Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space for all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan, support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. Now, for those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces. Every other Sunday, we have a thought piece scheduled to drop this upcoming Sunday, so be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 12 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we've provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And in today's conversation, our talk is on education, and we're going to be talking about the education that starts at home. And we're going to be talking about how to deal with hostility. And this is going to be twofold: how to deal with our own inner sense of hostility when it gets triggered, and also how to deal with the hostility of others. And so I am someone who firmly believes that hostility is a privilege. And that might be something a little paradoxical to some of you, because you're like, well, how can someone feel privileged if they're experiencing hostility? And it's mostly because it's still a reaction. So I think that if I warrant any personal reaction, it's because I expect more of them. So if I don't expect more of you, if you're acting in alignment with what I expect, or if I don't think that you can do better, then I'm not going to waste my time reacting to your behavior. I'm going to ignore it, right? And I think that it's important that we recognize who and what sorts of things that are trying to get our attention or making negative grabs for our attention are worth a response and are worth our hostility, because hostility is still a manifestation of anger that communicates, you're feeling your position about the thing in front of you, but you want to reserve that to people who are going to be responsive to it, or people who are going to learn from, whatever it is that they did that created that trigger. So this is less about the demonstrations of hostility. I think that there are really constructive ways to be hostile, believe it or not, and I also think that there are really very destructive ways of being hostile. And for me, hostility doesn't translate as yelling or screaming, but it does mean that I'm going to be very direct, I'm going to be very blunt, and I'm going to be very clear about what it is that I do not like and what it is that I'm looking for moving forward. But again, I only ever communicate, even from a place of hostility, if I expect more. Or, and this is a big or, if I feel unsafe. So if I'm in a situation where I feel unsafe, hostility is the warning sign. And I'm someone who firmly believes that it is my job to control my responses in such a way where I'm protecting myself by all means necessary. And for me, hostility is reserved for the situations that are kind of they catch me off guard, but I feel unsafe. So the bark or the first warning sign will be some degree, some variation of hostility. And then I'm going to remove myself from the situation. So if ever it is the case that I feel unsafe, I don't anyone else to create safety safety for me. I'm going to find a way to create a sense of safety or to reestablish safety once I've communicated the fact that a boundary has been breached or behavior has been done that has now made me feel unsafe. I'm always very much dedicated to communicating when it is the case that I'm feeling hostile. I'm never interested in venting, and because of that, I really don't appreciate when people are feeling hostile that they vent, right? And I think venting and hostility, they go hand in hand when all you wanted to do is rip the person down and shred the person into pieces rather than communicate the boundary or the situation that made you feel triggered and what it is that you're looking for. And so for me, communicating within any relationship, regardless of how new or how established the relationship is constructive, right? And I believe in constructive communication or no communication whatsoever, and that's what you can expect of me. But that is also what I expect from the people around me. So if ever the case someone says, well, you know, she kind of was hostile, it was a little bit aggressive, they know what they did. By the time that interaction is over, because I'll communicate what they did and I'll communicate what it was that was my expectation. That's only if ever I believe that they can do better or I've held them to a higher standard and I think that they can still accomplish that standard. Where I feel hostility is unuseful is being hostile to people who cannot do better, who are not committed to doing better, who are not interested in doing better, and in fact they're wanting to really create ripples with their behavior. And in that case, I think that hostility is best reserved elsewhere. In those situations, I would just remove myself from that scenario. And I think sometimes we want to be hostile because we want to reclaim our power because someone's behavior has made us feel like our power has been stripped from us. But power cannot be taken from us without our permission. So if it is the case that you're dealing with people who are being hostile, who are being disrespectful, who are being aggressive, but there's no reason for you to expect more of them, then just change your behavior. Remove yourself from that situation. Know that your hostility is better used elsewhere. It's better be channeled in a different direction, because being hostile towards people who are looking for hostility, they're looking for a reaction, and a reactive response out of you is feeding into a negative cycle that is not going to serve you in the long run. I don't know how many of us have received this training, and for me, I've learned it through trial by fire because I was someone who wasn't ever hostile. I took a lot from a lot of different people, and then because of that, the pendulum swing went the complete opposite way, where I was very hostile because I just felt unsafe in every social interaction. And now I found my way to the middle, where I recognize what situations warrant hostility and what situations do not, and that's for the behaviors that I engage in and the triggers that could potentially create, and that's also for the way that I respond. And again, hostility for me is only reserved for the people that I value, fortunately or unfortunately for them, that I expect more of, that I hold in high esteem. Otherwise, I'm just not going to waste my breath or waste my time communicating. And I think too many of us feel like if we are passionate, if we are loud, if we are vocal to people who are looking for that, but looking for negative versions of that out of us, that we're making traction, we're breaking ground, we're building momentum. And I'm like, I think that there's better ways of establishing your point of view and communicating your position rather than speaking to a brick wall. And people who are looking for hostility see them as a figurative brick wall. They're not there to listen to you. They're not there to be swayed. They're not even open to hearing your point of view. They're just looking for a reaction, and those people are like what I consider to be a void. Anything you give them, any energy you give them is wasted energy, just gets absorbed, and they want more. And I'm of the mindset that anyone who wants more of what it is that they don't deserve to begin with gets nothing at all. And I think many of us need to practice this capacity of indifference, of choosing who it is that we respond to, and then also determining the variation of response that we give depending on the amount of value you put on that person, the expectations we have of that person, whether our expectations are aligned with reality based on how that person has historically behaved, or if whether or not you expect to even interact with that person moving forward, but to expect that everyone should treat us the way we want to be treated or behave in alignment with how we expect them to behave. I think that is setting ourselves up for failure, to be pulled in a lot of different directions and have our emotional strings pulled in so many different places and manipulated and controlled by people who recognize, well, hey, if I don't respect her boundaries, if I don't toe the line, that she's going to have a reaction, and then I can play with that. I can play with that reaction. I can get the attention that I'm looking for from this person, because these people just want energy from you, and if they can't get positive energy from you, then of course they're going to revert to getting what it is that they can grab. So I think hostility is a great conversation, because I don't think that there's anything wrong with hostility. I think hostility is very powerful as a tool if you use it as a communication tool, but only when you're using it intentionally. I think hostility can be something that can be very destructive if you allow people to draw hostility out of you and you're not really intentional about when you use it and why you're using it. And I've mentioned already earlier in this video, I use hostility as a warning sign. It's like a firing shot if it is the case that I feel unsafe or I'm being hostile with people that I value or that I want close relationship with because they've reached the boundary and I expect more of them, then I feel like if they see that I am upset, then they're going to respond in kind and want to do more and do better. But if you're not in any of those two camps, I prefer not to respond whatsoever, and I think that that's just the best way of preserving my energy, respecting and valuing my energy. And so this is a quick conversation, but I think it's a conversation worth having because a lot of us are feeling angst, we're feeling agitated, and we don't really quite know what to do with it. And sometimes the best thing to do with it is nothing at all, or channel it in a direction where it's going to be constructive, where it's going to be something that supports you, that empowers you, and doesn't feed into a negative void. In any case, that was the conversation for today. Short and sweet, but hopefully insightful to you. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to tune in. These events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops largely focused on self-mastery over and above these events. So definitely check it out. Be part of our game changer community, being part of the change that you want to see, allowing us to be small roles to play in your journey. We are on the road to 1K, so we do invite you to follow us across all of our social media platforms, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.
Feel like no one's listening.